The heart of a king. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Long ago, in the magnificent kingdom of Aramor, stood a palace of white marble and gold. Its halls echoed with music, laughter, and the footsteps of servants attending to every royal desire. It was a place where nothing was lacking except one thing: true love. Crown Prince Alexander had been blessed with wealth, power, and honor. He was admired wherever he went. Noble families dreamed of seeing their daughters become his wife, and every banquet was filled with women eager to capture his attention. Yet deep inside, Alexander carried a loneliness that no treasure could heal. Whenever someone smiled at him, he wondered, would they still smile if I wore rags instead of silk? Whenever someone praised him, he wondered, would they still admire me if I owned nothing? One quiet evening, he stood alone beneath the stars on the palace balcony. Tears shimmered in his eyes as he looked toward heaven. "Lord," he whispered, "I don't want someone who loves my crown. I want someone who loves my heart. Please guide me to the woman you have chosen for me." The cool night breeze carried his prayer into the darkness. The next morning, Alexander approached his parents. "I wish to leave the palace." King Edward looked at him in surprise. "Leave? Why?" "I want to discover whether kindness still exists in this world. I want to find a woman who would love me even if I had nothing." The queen's eyes filled with tears. "My son, the world beyond these walls is cruel." Alexander smiled gently. "Then let me learn its truth." After a long silence, the king embraced him. "Go with God's blessing. But remember who you are." Alexander removed every symbol of royalty. He exchanged his expensive robes for torn clothing. He covered his face with dust, wore worn-out sandals, and carried only a small cloth bag. No guards followed him. No horses carried him. No one bowed before him. The prince had become a stranger. For weeks he wandered through villages and towns. His stomach often ached with hunger. He knocked on doors asking only for a piece of bread. Most people never even looked into his eyes. "Go away, you lazy beggar. Find work." Some laughed at him. Others pushed him aside. Children threw stones while adults watched without stopping them. One cold evening, heavy rain poured from the sky. Alexander sat beneath a broken bridge, soaked to the bone. Hunger twisted inside him, and tears rolled silently down his cheeks. "I never knew," he whispered, "how invisible the poor truly are." He prayed quietly, "Lord, help me understand what you see when you look at the forgotten." Several miles away lived a young woman named Grace. Grace owned very little. She lived in a tiny cottage with her elderly grandmother. Their roof leaked whenever it rained, and many nights they shared only a small loaf of bread for supper. Grace worked as a seamstress from sunrise until evening, sewing clothes for wealthy families who barely noticed her. Despite her hardships, she never complained. Every morning she knelt beside her bed. "Father," she prayed, "let me be a blessing to someone today." One evening, after finishing work, Grace walked home carrying a basket containing bread, vegetables, and medicine for her grandmother. As she walked along the muddy road, she noticed a young man lying beside the path. People stepped around him as though he were invisible. Some frowned, others laughed. No one stopped. Grace hurried over. She knelt beside him. His lips trembled from the cold. Without hesitation, she removed her own coat and gently wrapped it around his shoulders. An old merchant shouted from across the road, "Leave him there. He's probably a thief." Grace looked up calmly. "Even if he owns nothing, he still deserves kindness." Alexander slowly opened his eyes. Their eyes met. For the first time since leaving the palace, someone looked